The satellite images appeared on classified intelligence desks across Beijing at 0400 hours local time, and within minutes, emergency meetings were being called at the highest levels of the People's Liberation Army Navy. What analysts saw in those grainy photographs fundamentally altered their understanding of Pacific naval power. Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force had quietly achieved something that defense experts believed was still years away: a fully operational stealth destroyer fleet capable of challenging Chinese naval dominance in the East China Sea. The lead vessel, JS Kumano, had completed its final sea trials and was now prowling the waters east of the Senkaku Islands with sensor signatures so reduced that Chinese coastal radar stations were struggling to maintain consistent tracking locks. This wasn't just another incremental upgrade to Japan's defensive capabilities. This was a quantum leap that transformed the strategic calculus of the entire Western Pacific theater. The question reverberating through defense ministries from Tokyo to Washington wasn't whether this development would shift regional power dynamics, but how dramatically and how quickly those shifts would unfold. The timing of Japan's stealth fleet becoming operational couldn't be more strategically significant. China's naval expansion over the past decade has fundamentally altered the security landscape across the First Island chain, with Beijing's growing assertiveness in territorial disputes creating an increasingly volatile environment. Chinese warships now regularly patrol waters that Japan considers critical to its national security, while Beijing's artificial island construction in the South China Sea has demonstrated a willingness to reshape maritime geography through military force. The People's Liberation Army Navy has grown from a coastal defense force into a blue water navy capable of projecting power across the Pacific, with advanced destroyers, stealth corvettes, and aircraft carriers now operating far from Chinese shores. Against this backdrop of rising tensions, Japan found itself facing a stark reality. Its conventional naval forces, while capable, were increasingly outmatched by China's numerical superiority and technological advancement. The Senkaku Islands, administered by Japan but claimed by China as the Diaoyu Islands, have become a flashpoint where naval encounters between the two nations occur with alarming frequency. Chinese Coast Guard vessels and naval ships regularly probe Japanese territorial waters, testing response times and gathering intelligence on defensive capabilities. South Korea's own naval modernization program has added another layer of complexity to regional dynamics, with Seoul developing indigenous submarines and destroyers that could potentially complicate any future conflict scenario. The United States, while maintaining its security alliance with Japan, has signaled that Asian allies must shoulder greater responsibility for regional defense as American strategic focus shifts between multiple global theaters. This convergence of factors, Chinese expansion, territorial disputes, alliance uncertainties, and technological competition, created the strategic imperative that drove Japan to develop its stealth fleet capability with unprecedented urgency and secrecy. Japan's new stealth destroyers represent a masterclass in naval engineering that combines cutting-edge technology with decades of accumulated expertise in precision manufacturing. The lead vessel, JS Kumano, displaces 8,200 tons at full load and measures 169.9 meters in length with a beam of 21.0 meters, making it slightly larger than China's Type 055 destroyers, but significantly more advanced in stealth characteristics. The hull design employs a revolutionary faceted geometry that deflects radar waves away from the transmitting source, with each angle precisely calculated to minimize radar cross-section across multiple frequency bands. The superstructure integrates a seamless blend of composite materials and specially treated steel alloys, with radar-absorbing materials embedded throughout the surface layers to further reduce electromagnetic signatures. The ship's propulsion system centers around a combined gas turbine and electric drive configuration, featuring two Rolls-Royce MT-30 gas turbines generating 36 megawatts of power each, paired with electric motors for silent running capabilities at low speeds. This hybrid arrangement allows the destroyer to operate in multiple modes: high-speed sprint capability exceeding 30 knots for rapid response scenarios, and ultra-quiet electric propulsion for covert operations and submarine hunting missions. The integrated electric propulsion system also provides massive power generation capacity for the ship's advanced sensor and weapon systems, with total electrical output reaching 78 megawatts under full operation. The vessel's sensor suite represents a quantum leap in maritime awareness capabilities, anchored by the FCS-3A active electronically scanned array radar system that can simultaneously track over 500 targets while maintaining low probability of intercept characteristics. This radar operates across multiple frequency bands and can adapt its waveform in real time to counter electronic jamming attempts, providing 360-degree coverage with a detection range exceeding 450 kilometers for large aerial targets. The sonar suite incorporates both hull-mounted and towed array systems, with the OQS-102 bow sonar capable of detecting submarines at ranges approaching 50 kilometers in optimal conditions, while the towed array extends detection ranges to over 80 kilometers for quiet diesel-electric submarines. Electronic warfare capabilities center around the NOLQ 3D system, which provides both signals intelligence gathering and active electronic countermeasures capable of jamming enemy radar and communication systems while protecting the destroyer from incoming anti-ship missiles. The weapon's loadout reflects Japan's evolving strategic doctrine, with 96 vertical launch system cells distributed in 2 modules, capable of firing a diverse array of missiles. The primary air defense weapon is the evolved Sea Sparrow missile, with 32 rounds providing layered defense against aircraft and anti-ship missiles, while 16 Standard Missile 6 rounds offer extended-range air defense and anti-ballistic missile capabilities. Anti-submarine warfare relies on 24 ASRA-C anti-submarine missiles, each carrying lightweight torpedoes capable of engaging submarines at ranges up to 28 kilometers. The most significant capability enhancement comes from 24 cells dedicated to the new Type 12 surface-to-ship missile, an indigenous Japanese weapon with a range exceeding 200 kilometers and advanced terminal guidance systems designed to penetrate modern naval air defenses. Compared to China's Type 05X destroyers, Japan's stealth fleet offers superior radar signature reduction and electronic warfare capabilities, though the Chinese vessels carry more missile cells and heavier anti-ship weapons. The American Arleigh Burke Flight III destroyers share similar radar technology but lack the comprehensive stealth shaping and electric propulsion capabilities of the Japanese design. South Korean KDX-3 destroyers, while capable, operate with conventional propulsion and older radar systems that cannot match the detection capabilities or stealth characteristics of Japan's new fleet. The operational deployment of Japan's stealth fleet fundamentally alters combat dynamics across multiple warfare scenarios, with each engagement type showcasing the revolutionary capabilities these vessels bring to Pacific naval operations. In an air dominance scenario triggered by Chinese aircraft probing Japanese airspace over the disputed Senkaku Islands, a single Japanese stealth destroyer operating 150 kilometers southeast of the islands would detect incoming J-20 stealth fighters at ranges approaching 200 kilometers using its advanced FCS-3A radar system. The destroyer's low radar cross-section would prevent Chinese aircraft from acquiring a targeting solution until they closed to within 80 kilometers, giving Japanese forces a critical first-shot advantage. As the J-20s attempted to penetrate the air defense envelope, the destroyer would engage with Standard Missile 6 interceptors, their 240-kilometer range allowing engagement of targets well beyond the effective range of Chinese air-to-surface missiles. The destroyer's electronic warfare suite would simultaneously jam Chinese aircraft radar systems while coordinating with Japanese F-35 fighters operating from land bases, creating a layered defense that would force Chinese aircraft to either retreat or face destruction. In a naval strike scenario where Chinese Type JS-5 destroyers attempted to establish control around the Senkaku Islands, Japan's stealth fleet would exploit its reduced radar signature to approach within Type 12 missile range while remaining undetected by Chinese radar systems. The engagement would begin with the Japanese destroyer launching a salvo of 16 Type 12 missiles from maximum range, with each missile following a sea-skimming profile that would prevent detection until the final 30 seconds of flight. Chinese destroyers would scramble to engage the incoming missiles with their HQ-9 surface-to-air missiles, but the Type 12's advanced electronic countermeasures and terminal maneuvering capabilities would ensure multiple hits against Chinese vessels. The Japanese destroyer would then exploit the confusion to close range and finish damaged Chinese vessels with additional missile strikes, all while remaining largely invisible to Chinese sensors. Anti-submarine warfare scenarios would showcase the destroyer's hybrid propulsion system and advanced sonar capabilities, with the vessel detecting Chinese submarines operating near Japanese territorial waters and engaging them before they could threaten merchant shipping or naval facilities. The destroyer would switch to electric propulsion for silent running, using its towed sonar array to triangulate submarine positions at maximum detection range. Once a firing solution was established, ASROC missiles would deliver lightweight torpedoes directly to the submarine's location, while the destroyer's electronic warfare systems would jam Chinese submarine communications to prevent coordination with surface forces. Deep strike scenarios would demonstrate the destroyer's ability to operate far from Japanese home waters, penetrating Chinese coastal defense zones to engage high-value targets on the mainland. Operating in conjunction with Japanese submarines and supported by aerial tanker aircraft, the stealth destroyers would approach within 200 kilometers of the Chinese coast while maintaining electronic silence and minimal radar signature. The vessels would then launch coordinated Type 12 missile strikes against Chinese naval bases, port facilities, and radar installations, degrading Chinese naval capabilities before withdrawing under cover of darkness. The destroyer's stealth characteristics would allow it to evade Chinese coastal defense systems and return safely to Japanese waters, having delivered a devastating blow to Chinese naval infrastructure. Each scenario demonstrates how Japan's stealth fleet transforms tactical options available to Japanese naval commanders, providing capabilities that were simply impossible with conventional destroyer designs and forcing potential adversaries to completely reassess their strategic planning for Pacific operations. The strategic implications of Japan's operational stealth fleet extend far beyond simple naval capability enhancement, fundamentally reshaping the balance of power across the Western Pacific and forcing major realignments in regional security calculations. China's naval planners now face the sobering reality that their numerical superiority in surface combatants no longer guarantees tactical or strategic advantage in contested waters around Japan. The stealth fleet's ability to operate undetected in areas previously dominated by Chinese naval forces creates new defensive possibilities for Japan, while simultaneously providing offensive capabilities that could threaten Chinese naval operations across the First Island chain. Beijing's response has been swift and revealing. Emergency procurement of additional anti-submarine warfare assets, accelerated development of long-range reconnaissance aircraft, and visible increases in naval patrol frequency around disputed territories. Chinese military publications have openly discussed the challenge posed by invisible threats in the East China Sea, with analysts acknowledging that conventional radar-based maritime domain awareness is no longer sufficient against advanced stealth platforms. The psychological impact on Chinese naval commanders cannot be understated. The uncertainty of whether Japanese stealth destroyers are operating in any given area fundamentally changes tactical decision-making and force deployment patterns. South Korea finds itself in a particularly complex position, with Japan's enhanced naval capabilities potentially altering the regional balance in ways that could either enhance deterrence against North Korean aggression or complicate coordination during any unified response to Chinese expansion. Seoul's defense ministry has reportedly accelerated its own naval modernization programs while quietly exploring deeper intelligence sharing arrangements with Tokyo, despite ongoing historical tensions between the two nations. The United States sees Japan's stealth fleet as validation of its strategy to encourage allied capability development, with Pentagon officials privately expressing satisfaction that a key regional partner has achieved such significant defensive enhancement without requiring direct American military support. However, Washington also recognizes that Japan's enhanced capabilities could potentially reduce Tokyo's dependence on American naval protection, forcing subtle adjustments in alliance management and strategic coordination. The broader deterrence equation across the Pacific has shifted in ways that create both opportunities and risks for regional stability. Japan's stealth fleet provides a credible counter to Chinese naval expansion that doesn't rely on American intervention, potentially reducing the risk of superpower confrontation while maintaining effective deterrence against Chinese aggression. Conversely, the enhanced capabilities could encourage more assertive Japanese positioning in territorial disputes, potentially escalating tensions rather than containing them. China's response strategies will likely focus on developing counter-stealth technologies, expanding submarine capabilities to threaten Japanese sea lines of communication, and potentially accelerating military modernization programs that could trigger an arms race across the region. The economic implications are equally significant, with Japan's successful development of indigenous stealth technology positioning Tokyo as a potential supplier of advanced naval systems to other regional allies seeking to enhance their defensive capabilities against Chinese expansion. Despite the revolutionary capabilities of Japan's stealth fleet, significant limitations and practical constraints temper the strategic impact these vessels can realistically achieve in actual combat operations. The most immediate challenge lies in the fleet's current size. Only 4 destroyers are currently operational, with production constraints limiting rapid expansion due to the sophisticated manufacturing requirements and specialized materials needed for stealth construction. Each destroyer requires approximately 48 months to construct, meaning Japan cannot quickly scale production to match Chinese numerical advantages in surface combatants. The advanced technology that makes these vessels so capable also creates vulnerabilities in terms of maintenance requirements and operational availability. The stealth coatings require constant attention and periodic renewal, with each destroyer requiring extensive depot-level maintenance every 18 months that takes the vessel offline for weeks at a time. The hybrid propulsion system, while providing significant advantages in stealth and endurance, introduces complexity that demands highly trained engineering crews and sophisticated maintenance facilities that exist at only 3 Japanese naval bases. Training bottlenecks represent another critical limitation, with the advanced sensor and weapon systems requiring crew expertise that takes years to develop and cannot be rapidly scaled across the entire maritime self-defense force. The electronic warfare capabilities, while impressive, remain vulnerable to evolving Chinese countermeasures and sophisticated jamming techniques that could potentially compromise sensor effectiveness during actual combat operations. Cost considerations impose harsh realities on fleet expansion plans, with each destroyer carrying a price tag approaching $2.8 billion, making the program one of the most expensive naval projects in Japanese history. Budget constraints limit the number of additional vessels that can be procured, while competing defense priorities across air and ground forces constrain resources available for naval expansion. The political and legal framework governing Japanese military operations continues to impose significant restrictions on how these capabilities can actually be employed, with constitutional limitations on collective self-defense and offensive operations potentially preventing full utilization of the fleet strike capabilities. Survivability concerns emerge when considering sustained combat operations against a determined adversary with significant numerical advantages. While stealth provides tactical advantages, it cannot guarantee survival against overwhelming numbers of enemy platforms employing coordinated attack strategies. Japan's stealth fleet represents only the beginning of a broader naval transformation that will reshape Pacific maritime power over the next decade. The Maritime Self-Defense Force has already begun development of the next generation destroyer class, incorporating lessons learned from the current stealth fleet, while addressing identified limitations through enhanced automation, improved weapons capacity, and even more advanced stealth technologies. Plans call for 8 additional stealth destroyers to be constructed by 2035, with each new vessel incorporating incremental improvements in sensor capabilities, missile capacity, and electronic warfare systems. The development of indigenous hypersonic anti-ship missiles represents a parallel track that will dramatically enhance the striking power of the stealth fleet, with initial testing of Mach 5+ weapons scheduled to begin within 2 years. Integration with Japan's growing satellite constellation will provide enhanced targeting and communication capabilities, while development of unmanned surface vessels operating in coordination with manned destroyers will multiply force effectiveness across contested waters. The broader implications extend beyond individual platform capabilities to encompass fundamental changes in Japanese strategic doctrine and defense planning. Tokyo's growing willingness to develop offensive capabilities signals a shift from purely defensive positioning toward a more proactive security strategy that could include preemptive strikes against threats to Japanese territory. China's response will likely focus on accelerating its own naval modernization programs while developing specific counter-stealth technologies designed to neutralize Japanese advantages. Beijing's investment in quantum radar systems, advanced submarine capabilities, and long-range precision strike weapons represents a direct response to Japan's stealth fleet deployment. The arms race dynamic this creates could destabilize regional security if both nations continue pursuing increasingly advanced military technologies without corresponding diplomatic engagement. Alliance implications will continue evolving as Japan's enhanced capabilities potentially reduce dependence on American naval protection, while creating new opportunities for burden sharing within the U.S.-Japan security partnership. The technology transfer possibilities arising from Japan's stealth program could benefit other regional allies seeking to enhance their defensive capabilities, potentially creating a network of advanced naval forces aligned against Chinese expansion. Export potential for Japanese stealth technology remains limited by domestic political constraints, but selective technology sharing with trusted allies could enhance collective deterrence while supporting Japanese defense industrial development. As dawn breaks over the Western Pacific, a fundamental question hangs in the salt air above waters, where great powers have measured their strength for generations. Japan's stealth fleet now prowls beneath the horizon, invisible to those who once considered these seas their own domain, carrying with it the power to reshape a century of naval dominance with the simple act of remaining unseen. Will this technological leap toward invisible warfare herald an era of enhanced stability, where the balance of deterrence keeps ambitious powers in check, or has it merely accelerated a race toward capabilities so advanced that the margin for miscalculation grows thinner with each passing tide?